Everyone loves getting slammed at TGI Fridays. You know, with Friday's new chicken slammers, chicken tender sliders, buffalo, Italian, or whiskey glaze, paired with your favorite Friday sides. Get slammed with the new chicken slammer combos. Only at Fridays. Please, chicken responsibly.
Are your property taxes going through the roof? Property Tax Reduction Consultants can help. For over 30 years, PTRC has saved millions of dollars in property taxes for homeowners on Long Island. Property Tax Reduction Consultants is one of the area's largest and rated A by the Better Business Bureau. Their professional team of skilled analysts have experience working to reduce residential property tax bills. PTRC has the latest tools and technology that will reduce your property tax assessment and put more money in your pocket. Apply today at ptrc.com.
The deadline for Nassau County is May 2nd, and for Suffolk County is May 17th.
You're listening to the Whip Appeal Show, hosted by Mistress Candy69 from the BDSM ALIVE Radio Network. Hello, hello, hello in Radioland. This is the show for Friday, which is, I think, April 1st. So who's going to be the fool for Mistress on April Fool's Day? How many of you willing submissives out there are going to be listening to my show this evening? Hit me up on social media on at MistressC69 on Twitter, at The Real Mistress Candy69 on Instagram, at The Real Mistress C69 on Instagram. And of course, you can follow my Facebook fan page for the Whip Appeal Radio Show on Facebook.com. So anyway, this is a new brand spanking new era of BDSM shows hosted by yours truly. And, of course, I want to thank Blitz Kid for allowing Mistress to still use your song after so many years of my time on the radio airwaves. So let's see. What do I got on agenda for us this coming Friday? I was going to be talking about different types of fetishes. A lot of people ask me about these type of things online. So we're going to start off with humiliation. Ha ha ha. Humiliation, for all those humiliation junkies out there who know exactly what humiliation is. It's a kink about being put in place by your partner. Someone with a humiliation kink, for example, might get off on being told that their penis is too small, or that they're pathetic, or they're a slut. Humiliation comes in many, many, many different forms. It can be enacted through different types of power play, such as bootlicking or facials. It's all about the meaning that people ascribe to a certain acts. Often, it's a kink theorized to be found in people who live in a high-respect, high-power positions by day and who want to explore the opposite position in the evening, or that's why most of you fellows go to pro-doms, so you can be humiliated by a mistress, meaning face-slapping, spitting in your face. All sorts of degradation goes along with humiliation. Now, a lot of people, when they want to be humiliated, think it's all about verbal abuse. For me, it's not about verbal abuse. It's about putting someone in someone's place, okay? Meaning, belittling them or bullying them into feeling that there's something worthless, right? That's part of humiliation. It could also be something embarrassing, like where you could send a submissive on a task into a public place to be public humiliated by public people, meaning, for instance, a bunch of mistresses could have a play party, and in that play party, there would be other subs and other doms who would be willing to help carry out a public humiliation, meaning having a submissive walk around half naked or stark raving naked, and having other mistresses sit in the corner of the room kind of gossiping and whispering into each other's ears. Then they call over the submissive, and then the fun begins. What I mean by that is group dom humiliation is quite interesting for a submissive in a dungeon play party scenario where groups of doms can kind of verbally humiliate oneself, right? Okay? So we're going to go off on humiliation for a little bit. There's other types of things. Role play. It's a kink defined by taking on different personas during sex and experiencing intensified pleasure from stepping outside of yourself. For instance, may you and your partner play a librarian and a student, or a delivery worker and a housewife. Are you usually shy, but really let go and come harder when you don't have to be yourself? Maybe role play is your kink. You never know. You could also do like the daddy schoolgirl. You can do like the mommy baby. It's depending on what type of role player kink that you're in that precise moment. But role play is pretty fun. It's where you can be somebody that you're not usually in a regular everyday life, right? Then you got voyeurism. It's a kink that centers on being turned on by watching other people having sex. You might figure out that this is your kink by partially turned on by seeing yourself have sex in a mirror. In order to explore this kink, you make sure that you engage in a more consensual situation, such as a sex club or a sex party. Now, this is where you would go to an orgy, per se, and watch other people have sex, and you might be like, getting off on it. Or you go on home and have a gangbang with your significant other and see where it goes. These are all different fun stuff and different topics. Now, my favorite big thing is exhibitionism. It's all about getting turned on by being observed. What I love the most is that when I'm all dressed up in my dom gear and I'm out in public with either myself or an old slave or whoever I have in my good graces at the time, I really love people watching me. Whether I'm out in public in a fancy outfit or I'm in public with a submissive, kind of humiliating him for other people to watch, as including public humiliation, degradation into some sort of kinky role play, and then having other people watch. That's exhibitionism. Okay? So it's kind of interesting. Have you ever fantasized about having sex, masturbating, or getting naked in front of an audience, or want someone to watch you? Then you might find this kink enjoyable, says everyone. You might wish to have sex in settings such as sex clubs, or perhaps you want to leave the curtains open while you have sex in your bedroom. This kink can be a lot of fun, but make sure what you're doing won't get you arrested for indecent exposure. And in my whole 31 years of being a dominatrix, nothing I enjoy more is back when I was younger and had a whole bunch of subs on these like phone lines, which Mistress doesn't no longer do anymore. But when I was younger, I had a very interesting life. I used to have these subs who lived in these apartment complexes that wanted exhibitionism. They wanted people to watch them. So I said, okay, go to your window, draw back the curtains, you have a big bay window, and stand there and either, mildly fondle yourself or mildly dress up with some outfits on, or even taking yourself out for a walk in public if you've never cross-dressed before and you want to kind of feel what it's like for someone to be staring at you. Then you would be dressing up in public in your most sluttiest attire, high heels, wig, lipsticks, and all, and parade your faggoty ass around town for people to stare at. Whether it's a cross between humiliation or personal or public humiliation or a form of exhibitionism, they all kind of go hand in hand with each other. For me, you can't have exhibitionism without a little public humiliation, because to me they kind of go hand in hand, If you disagree, please drop me a line and tell me why you think you disagree, okay? Let's see, what else we got here? So we did voyeurism, exhibitionism, humiliation, sadism and masochism, which we kind of discussed on last week's show about the whole S&M thing under the BDSM umbrella. These kinks are all about your relationship to pain. A sadist derives pleasure from inflicting pain on a sexual partner, and a masochist derives pleasure from receiving it. So the sadist is the giver and the masochist is the receiver. So where do you think BDSM comes from? S&M, get it? So what do you fantasize about when you masturbate? Now, I'm sure plenty of you fellas and ladies out there, or they have mutual masturbation. What do you fantasize when you're masturbating with your partner or masturbating by yourself? If your fantasies tend to involve the exchange of pain, perhaps you might want to let your inner sadist or inner masochist out with an equally game partner, right? So what that means is there's a woman who enjoys being spanked. No matter what she does and tries to spank herself, she can't get off sexually unless it's someone else spanking her. So that person is called a masochist. The sadist, she's looking for a top or a dom who is willing to consensually spank her to bring her to that sheer joy of sexual bliss through a spanking offered by a sadist. So S&M is what you call a pain slut. And I believe that pain sluts are the best form of submissives to torture. Why? Because they enjoy every single minute of every aching, painstaking pain you are going to give them. And they just lay there and love it and kind of indulge and take in it all because that's what their purpose is. They're a pain slut and they love getting off on pain. The next thing we're going to talk briefly about is ropes and bondage. Having bondage or rope kink is one of the most well-known kinks out there. A lot of people, when they talk about S&M, of course, they talk about bondage and ropes and suspension and what's the other one? Shibari, which is a Japanese form of rope art bondage. Have you ever had a inclination or an idea of restricting your partner or you in fact being restricted? Maybe it makes you feel safe and taken care of, or desired and subjugated, or powerful and in control. Exploring this kink necessitates a safe word so that you can easily end the scene if it becomes too much. Have scissors on hand as well so the ropes can be simply and quickly removed. Last week's segment, I spoke a little bit about S&M, a little bit about ropes and bondage, and did explain that if you are going to engage in this type of kinky role play behavior, you must have safety scissors. Why? Because sometimes people, when they make ropes and knots, they get carried away and they forget how they knot and rope something, right? It's like basically tying your shoe. If you can't tie your shoe and remember how you tied or knotted it, and then you need to take your shoe off in a hurry, what happens, right? Can't get it off. So having a safety scissor or shears around to cut yourself out of a rope bondage situation would be pretty ideal if you're going to be playing with this type of play. Now, if you're a beginner in bondage and you don't want to use ropes, you can use pantyhose or nylons. I suggest them because they're, less strangulation. It makes it easy to come off very easily. Basically, you would be using the pantyhose and not tying it as tight. But also, keep in mind, you must have safety shears or safety scissors. This way, you are not in a jam, so to speak, that you can't get out of doing something, right? Hosiery, this is what I was just talking about. The kink is marketed by an interest in wearing pantyhose or having a partner wearing hosiery while they are kind of tantalizing and teasing you. So you can also use pantyhose, like I said, to do the ropes and bondage, along with the S&M stuff. So it's kind of interesting. There's all these different things and different kinks and fetishes, right? So what is a kink? People ask this question, right? Kink is anything that veers away from the normal or expected sexual path. It is used to describe things that are particular or sexual curiosity and interest someone, particularly those things, behaviors, or practices that are outside of the normative sexual behavior. Okay, so basically, couples and sex therapists, right? There's this person that did this article, right? And they say kink comes from the Dutch word referring to a twist or bend in a rope. So anything kinky is not really so much straight, if you think about it. A kink in a rope, a kink or a bend in a rope or a kink in a wire, something that's not quite